All right, well, let's get to our guest here. We are here with the lovely Alexis Pearson of Bardown Beauties podcast, also the color commentator for the Minnesota Whitecaps. So, Alexis, you're obviously a huge hockey fan. I mean, have you been having any withdrawals without hockey? We'd be in playoff hockey right now, which sucks.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I'm having all of the withdrawals, and it hurts more this time of year knowing that the best hockey is what we're missing out on. I was actually thinking about that this morning when I woke up. I was like, man, it would be playoff hockey season right now. This is the best time of year. I mean, there's definitely moments that go by where you don't think about it, but when you do think about it, it really hits you, and you're like, wow, it's been so many days without sports, without hockey, and it really sucks.
Especially like what could have been. You're also thinking, I mean, the season could resume. I mean, who knows? But it's also thinking of like what could have been with the Wild, especially they're on fire before the season got suspended. And you're like, dang it! Like I wanted to see what was going to happen. And with Fiala and Stalock, and they were so fun to watch. And it just sucks that it just ended just like that, because I really was looking forward to seeing their push for the playoffs and maybe even a playoff run.
Is there anything more Minnesotan than like a superstar player finally emerging and then the entire season is just canceled? I mean, that's true. Right. Yeah. We were seeing Kevin Fiala finally start to shine, and the team was playing better. And a lot of people were finally believing that they might make the playoffs for the first time all season. And then everything just gets shut down. So it sucks in the sense that we don't have any hockey at all. And if you're especially a Wild fan, you're thinking, man, something exciting could have happened this year, and we might not find out how that's going to turn out. It depends on if the season comes back or not.
Right. Whenever we have something good in Minnesota, it gets taken away from us, either through a trade or
and usually very painfully too. It's never something simple. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, the good thing in this is Fiala did not leave the team. He's still on the team, and we still got.
He's not hurt or anything.
No.
Yeah.
that also happens. Injuries and stuff like that. It's crazy. But I mean, but then again, next season we'll have more than likely have Kirill Kaprizov coming in. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Russian sensation?
This is probably the most exciting thing that's happened during quarantine. Is that like the Kaprizov watch is on? He's going to be signing hopefully any day now. Could be playing on the same line as Fiala, which just gives me chills every time I think about that we could have both of them playing at the same time on the same line. So I really think he's going to bring some excitement to this Minnesota Wild team that Wild fans haven't seen or felt in a long time. A lot of people have been saying, and I agree, that maybe the last time there was this level of excitement with the player was Marian Gaborik, which how long has it been since he's been here? So that could be something really exciting to see a young player like him come onto the team and say, hey, I could do something here. And if Kevin Fiala continues to play well and the team continues to play well, it's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah, I know that I was mentioning that when I saw even the emergence of Fiala this season, how, I went to the I think it was in February when they played when the Wild played when they played the Blackhawks. They won in overtime. I think Dumba had a weird
game-winning goal,
game-winning goal, but it was like the first time in like 30 some games. But I remember I was watching Fiala and just seeing him going around, seeing him in person. Like, we haven't had a guy even like him, a young guy like since Gaborik. And now it's like to have that much electricity on the ice from a player is insane. It's just nice to see.
And the crazy thing is Gaborik was a very straight line player. He wasn't. Fiala can swoop and deke and move around, and Gaborik didn't really play like that. He was more up and down. He had a great shot and he could score and all of that. But Fiala brings the kind of excitement. When you see a player like dipping and diving and ducking like that, you got to get all excited because you're like, oh my God, are they going to put the puck on that? Are they going to score? So he brings something that we haven't seen a lot of. And then you double that with someone like Kaprizov. I mean, the Wild are going to be a fun team to watch next year.
Definitely.
So I saw this. Are you the president of the Marcus Foligno fan club?
I am. Thank you for asking. I'm the self-proclaimed president.
This guy is a big Marcus Foligno guy. Like
Hey, welcome to the club.
I think if Mikko doesn't resign or whatever happens with Mikko, I think
Captain.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I said it since last fall.
So we have a podcast that obviously couldn't really keep going, just specifically around hockey, called Wild Takes Podcast. And then the very first one, he's like, give Foligno the C. He needs the C. And it was kind of crazy. I mean, we were kind of giving him some crap for it, but I mean, it's it could definitely happen. He's a big presence on the ice, on and off the ice, quite frankly.
He's a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's someone I admire players like him a lot. Someone who has the feistiness, but also the skill and the ability to just do their job when they're on the ice. He's a player that you don't get scared when he's on the ice. He's going to get the job done, and if you're lucky, he'll get the team and the fans riled up. And that's something that I love about him. And the fan club thing kind of started as a joke. There was one game earlier in the season. They're playing Winnipeg, and he was having an incredible game. And I kind of put out a couple tweets about him specifically during the game. And I realized I had tweeted about him like 4 times that night. And I remembered there was another game against Winnipeg, if you guys remember last season, the bench brawl, where he ended up in the bench and was like fighting people.
Yes.
And I said something like, maybe it's just Winnipeg that brings out the best in Marcus Foligno. And then I just decided, I was like, you know what? This is a fan club account now. This is a Marcus Foligno fan club.
Perfect.
I'm going to tweet about him all the time. And then it just turned into this whole joke, and people were like, I want to be part of the club. And I was like, sure, the more the merrier. And I really do admire him as a player, so it works out well. And I agree. I think that he deserves the captaincy next year if Mikko Koivu doesn't return. I think he's the kind of player a lot of teams would be lucky to have.
Absolutely.
Well, I've said so many times when I've been at games and just seeing him going to the boards, I always say he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care. He just tries to bring energy to the crowd by hitting. And you need those enforcers out there and those big guys to bring some energy to the team, and that's what I like about him. He's just, you look at, I think a lot of people maybe disagree with that trade initially where we got Ennis and him for, I think, Pominville, and, well, not so much Pominville, but getting away with Scandella. But I think Foligno's definitely been worth it since then.
Well, and you need someone like him in today's day and age in hockey. Hockey is so fast nowadays, and it's very much skill-based. You don't as much see the enforcer role, and that's going away a bit. And I don't know if I would necessarily say he's 100% pure enforcer type that you would typically think of, but he has some of those qualities. And you need a guy like that to, especially for a team like the Wild, who aren't a super fast team, who kind of have trouble time to time competing with those high-skilled, high-fast teams. And he's a great guy to slow down some of those teams, to kind of strike some fear into opponents, because in my mind, I see him as reckless in the best way possible. Kind of what you said. He doesn't care. He goes out there, he'll throw his body on the line, he'll throw his body around, he'll get the job done if you need him to, and he rarely will disappoint you or make a mistake. And he's shown a lot of skill this season in some point streaks and putting the puck in the back of the net and just grinding day in and day out. And you need guys like that on your team.
Definitely. Well, he just doesn't care, like we said. Yeah. And go to and just shift gears a little bit. I know we mentioned you're the Minnesota Whitecaps color commentator, and I believe they won the championship this past year, didn't they?
They did, yes. It was their first season in the league.
Awesome.
So they've been a team for a while,
Right.
but their first season in the NWHL last year, and they won the Isabel Cup, and they went to the Isabel Cup again this year, but the season was suspended / canceled, whatever you want to call it, right before the championship game was played. So they were set to play the Boston Pride, who were the best team in the league this year, and the game is still in the air waiting to see when that happens. So they could be back-to-back champs. We don't know yet, but they had another great season this year, and they are just really, really fun to watch.
Yeah. What was it like being a part of that, that atmosphere and being up in the booth when they won it in that season?
Well, it's crazy because for the NWHL, each team has a set of announcers that broadcast the home games. So we're the Whitecaps announcers, but when they're at home, we're broadcasting for the away team just as much as the home team. There's not a separate broadcast for the away team. So we're supposed to be unbiased. You talk about each team equally. You don't get to necessarily show the same level of excitement as home announcers sometimes get to. And so in something like that, it was so hard to control your emotions because I'm just a sports fan, so it was just an exciting game to begin with. Then went to overtime. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is there anything better than this? On top of that, it's a Minnesota team, and we never win anything, and I'm like, oh, I want them to win so bad. And just the way it ended, it was so exciting. You're trying to control your emotions. You want to be excited, so the fans feel the excitement, but you don't want to seem, that you're so excited that was the team that won. So it was a really, really cool experience, and especially my first season with the team and the team's first season in the NWHL. It was just, it was something that I'll never forget, and hopefully sometime soon we'll see that championship game from this season that's waiting to happen. But really exciting season for them last year. Yeah,
that's pretty sweet. I know that. I mean, aren't there like 6 or 8 teams currently in that league? Yeah.
So there was 5 up until last week when Toronto, they expanded to Toronto. Nice. So now there's 6 teams in the league. So Toronto's first season will be this upcoming season. So they're slowly but surely trucking along, trying to get teams added. And a lot of people are hoping for teams in other areas. The Whitecaps, the only Midwest team. So a lot of fans are saying, get another Midwest team in there, maybe a Chicago team, something like that. A lot of fans have suggested like a Seattle team since the NHL is going there. So they're small right now, but always looking to expand. And really excited to have Toronto on board ever since the CWHL folded. I think it was like a year ago now or 2 years ago. So it's nice to bring a Canadian team in and kind of expand out to that market. So I think it's going to be really, really exciting next year.
Cool. Well, speaking of Seattle coming into the NHL, we haven't actually asked a lot of like our hockey guests on here, but I know that the names that's been circulating has been the Kraken. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, or do you think it should be something else?
You know, I kind of like it. I remember seeing that a while ago when somebody said that was a potential name. And I think it's kind of interesting. It's funny because when you think about some of the names in not even the NHL, but just in sports in general, when you start to think about it, you're like, that is kind of a weird name, like the Wild. Like what even is, what is the Wild?
What is the Wilds? My great grandpa called them the Wilds. Yeah, he did. Yep.
So I don't know. I think Kraken's exciting. It sounds kind of scary. You want your team name to be a little bit like formidable and whatever. So, and I know like the not Danny Heatley Twitter account tweeted like the fan should be called like the Kraken heads or the Crackheads or something like that. And I was like, that's funny. So I don't know. I think it's a good name. I think there could be some cool like logo stuff that goes along with that too. I'm picturing like some really cool, scary looking like jerseys. I don't know. I like the name. I think it would be good for sure.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, who's on your Minnesota Hockey Mount Rushmore?
Well, this is a tough one because Minnesota produces a lot of good hockey players.
I got to ask first,
sure.
is Kyle Rao on that Mount Rushmore?
He's not. It wasn't one I considered.
Okay, good, because we interviewed Alexis Pearson on Friday, and the guy I did it with, Andy, he is, I think, who you're talking to.
Yep.
He is obsessed with Kyle Rao. He's like 100 hands down. He is in my Hockey Mount Rushmore.
No way.
I'm like, he was good in high school. I'm not going to make the not top 4. Sorry, Kyle, but great player.
Yeah,
but,
I respect him. Yeah,
yes.
He's just not in my Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
I'll give you 2 females and 2 males.
Perfect.
So for
Perfect.
my 2 males, I'm gonna go with Neil Broughton as one,
Perfect.
and I'm gonna go Phil Housley as my second because I'm a South St. Paul alum, as
nice.
is he. So I gotta go with that one. To shout out to my high school.
Mm-hmm.
My 2 females, pretty obvious, Chrissy Wendell and Natalie Darwitz. Can't go wrong with those 2, just legends at the female level. So I would say that's my 4. Kind of tough though, like I said, because there's just so many you could go with for so many different reasons. A lot had great careers at the high school and college level, but didn't do so great in pro. So yeah, that's a tough one because we're pretty lucky to have so many good hockey players in Minnesota.
That's perfect. I like Phil Housley, the Phil Housley thing. Oh, my dad went to South St. Paul. He grew up there, and so I think he graduated with Phil Housley. He didn't really know him a whole lot, but growing up, I just heard Phil Housley, and then whenever a South St. Paul player was doing well, my dad would make sure it was known. But they seem to be the school of goalies, at least recently. You got Alex Stalock and then Adam Wilcox.
Yep.
Wow, that was, And then I forgot who it was back in the day, but my uncle got a goalie stick. I think it was at Wakota. It was section final game or something, but he got a goalie stick from a goalie like in the 90s or something. I'm blanking on who it was, but there's so much history in that city for hockey.
Yeah, it's you go to formerly Wakota Arena, now Doug Woog Arena. I still call it Wakota all the time just because that's what I grew up with it as. But you go in there and you see like Doug Woog's jersey hanging and Phil Housley, and it's just it's cool being a part of a hockey city that produced some pretty talented people in the hockey world. So we're pretty lucky, and it's cool that they renamed Wakota Arena to Doug Woog Arena. Well deserved. Everybody loved him. He was a big part of the South St. Paul and hockey community. So I had to go with Phil Housley as one of them just because he's a South St. Paul Packer like me.
Right. And I was going to ask, going off onto your Bardown Beauties podcast you do with Jesse.
Yep.
I've watched a couple. You have great segments on there. You have this one called Dear Diary. How did that all start? Where did that come from?
Yeah, what's that bit all about?
We're all about bits here.
Yeah. So we've obviously only been doing our podcast it's been a couple months now. Our first episode was released New Year's Eve, and we were trying to think of ideas of bits because bits are so important, right?
Yes.
The thing that people come back for is the funny bits, the little hits here and there. And so I brought this idea to Jesse and our producer, Fred. When I was a kid, so I've always been a pretty avid writer. I love writing and ever since I was little. And I've been a diehard Wild fan, and I mean diehard since I was a kid. And they would affect my whole day. They won, I was in a great mood until the next game. They lost, I didn't want to talk to anybody until they played again. And when I was little, I had 2 separate journals. I had a happy journal and an angry journal. And when they won, I would write a little notes in the happy journal. When they lost, I would go on like a rampage in my angry journal. And so I told Jesse and Fred, I said, what if I just read through them and pull out some funny things that I said? And keep in mind, I'm like 10, 11 at this time that I'm writing this stuff. And I was like, I'll just read bits with no context and just have that be a segment. Yep. And so we kind of started to do it, and people really liked it. And so that's kind of where that came from. And it was a pleasant reminder of how crazy I was as a child when it came to sports. But it's fun to look back on some of those things. And I actually remember like reading through some of them. Like, I remember this game. I remember being there.
That's
I remember
so cool.
watching that. So
Was there any looking at back in your journals, or any particular game that will be forever stuck in your memory, either good or bad?
Oh boy, there's a couple that were pretty intense. I remember one. There was, I think it was 2009, maybe 2010. The Wild were playing the Detroit Red Wings at the very end of the season. They had to win the game to go to the playoffs.
Is that the one that went to a shootout?
No, I don't think this one went to a shootout. It could be. It's been a while, but I just remember they lost the game, and I was so devastated. It was like they not only did they have to win, but like 5 other teams had to lose. It was a long shot to begin with, but I was just holding on to any kind of hope.
Exactly.
And when I was reading through that diary journal or that entry, I was like, oh, I remember being so devastated. I think my mom even took a picture of me like crying on my bed after that, because I like fell asleep writing in the journal. I was so sad that they had lost. And so that one definitely sticks out as one of the saddest ones. There's a bunch of like Hockey Day ones that I love reading back on, because Hockey Day was so early on in the times that I was writing this. I remember there was one journal where I was like, Hockey Day is the best thing anyone's ever thought of. And it was like 2 years into Hockey Day. So it's really fun to look back on some of them, or talking about going to games with my family that were really exciting. And it's a good and bad memories, but fun to look back on both of them regardless.
Exactly. I think that's healthy to actually have like an angry journal, especially when like Minnesota teams disappoint you, because I think every fan should have one in this state, because I think either people are breaking stuff and doing unhealthy stuff after a team disappoints them, or they're calling into a fan line with stupid takes. And I think that's perfect that you did that. That's
somebody tweeted when we tweeted out one of the clips of me reading one, somebody responded and they were like, your angry journal was like your version of Twitter when you were 10. And I was like, that's a good point. Good thing I didn't have Twitter when I was 10, or it didn't exist when I was 10, because who knows what I would have said on there.
I definitely would have had like some games like on there if I wrote some. Like, I don't know if you remember, there was a game back, I don't know if it was like 2007, 2008. They were losing to Chicago 5-1 going into the third period, and they came back and won in an
8-round shootout.
Yes.
That was, Owen Nolan scored the game-winning goal.
Owen Nolan. I forgot about that guy. But that is forever in my memory. But I know you have one. What was the one when Bugard was on the team and they played the bell before the game because he was
So this is when Mikko got his leg broke in Vancouver.
Oh, yep.
And it was like the first time, or not first time back Mikko game, but it was the first game back in Minnesota that the Vancouver Canucks and the Wild played, and they played the little montage, and then they did the boxing ding ding, and I remember
ding ding
very well. Bugard went hard that game, so that was great.
That's what I'm talking about, like the Northwest Division rivalries. Like, is there anything better than like the Canucks and the Wild in like 2007? Like, name a better time. No, there's nothing better than that.
No, I remember going to like games against the Thrashers a lot, because that was probably like the cheapest games.
Thrashers.
But I'm like, the Atlanta Thrashers. This is great. It was still fun, but I remember my first ever game at the Exo Energy Center I went to. First of all, I thought it was a state-of-the-art arena. I'm like, this is amazing. I mean, I was used to the Metrodome, so I'm going to the Exo Energy Center. I'm like, this. I feel like I'm being treated like wealthy here. Like, I don't know. But the first game I went to was when they were still the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, and I briefly remember this. My dad has to remind me of it, but like when they I saw like a couple fights, but I don't know if it was like Flip Cuba who got in a fight or somebody. I remember I love that guy because I just loved how they pronounced his name when he scored. But I remember there was just blood on the ice, and I remember my dad said, I turned to him and like, this is awesome. We have to go to more games. Is that blood? That's awesome. Like, I loved it. So I think it's a great atmosphere in there in general, no matter who they play.
There was one game I remember. My dad posts this video on Facebook every time it's my birthday every year. It was like my 12th birthday, I think. And we went to, so my birthday is October 5th. So it's always around the home opener the season opener, I should say, for hockey. So growing up, my parents would always try to get tickets to the season opener because it was like a fun birthday gift and yada, yada, yada. There was one season, and like I said, I think I was maybe 12 at the time. So I don't know, that would have been 12 years ago. they were playing the Anaheim Ducks, and the Wild were losing. I think it was 3-0 going into the third period or 2-0. They came back and won in overtime. Bruno scored the game-winning goal, and my dad has a video of me bawling because I was so happy that they won. And he posted, it's so embarrassing. He posted it like almost every year for my birthday on Facebook. I'm like, thank you for that reminder.
You know it's hockey season when that's posted, so
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, we're running closer on to the end of our time here, but before we go, we want to do our signature segment we've been doing here at 10,000 Takes for this stream called Rapid Fire. I don't know if you've seen it. Where we ask you some crazy hypothetical questions, would you rather stuff.
Sure.
Ready to go for that?
Sure, ready.
Awesome. All right, well, the first one, would you rather spend the rest of your life blind or in an Olive Garden?
In an Olive Garden. I literally ate Olive Garden for dinner last night. So
perfect. Hey, supporting business still, man. There you go. Carry out. If you were given an all expenses paid trip to Cleveland, would you take it?
No.
Good answer.
Good answer. We've had people that say yes, but you'd be surprised. Is the correct term hot dish or casserole?
Hot dish.
There you go. Perfect. Yep. I think people in Iowa call it casserole. So
lame.
They don't have a hockey team. So well, Iowa Wild. Okay. If a movie was made about your life, who would play you?
Oh my God, I don't know, but I feel bad for whoever would have to.
Yeah. Why?
I get told I look like Jennifer Garner, so maybe her.
Oh, yeah.
People tell me I look like her
Definitely
all the time.
see it. That'd be perfect. Yeah. Would you rather have the head the size of a tennis ball or the size of a watermelon?
Watermelon.
Good answer.
Bigger brain.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I might know the answer to this one, but I gotta ask it. Minneapolis or St. Paul?
Minneapolis.
Wow, I thought I would say. I thought I would say St. I thought you'd say St. Paul.
I like Minneapolis better. Yeah.
Really? Why? Can I ask why?
I don't know. I'm someone who loves to go out to like restaurants and bars and places for brunch and all that stuff. And I just think Minneapolis has so many great spots.
Yeah.
St. Paul is great too. It's hard. It's like picking your favorite child, but Minneapolis has a lot of good spots.
No, I totally agree. I've just always thought. I think of St. Paul. I think of like the hockey atmosphere and stuff.
Yeah,
Minneapolis is still an awesome city. Love it, but especially for game days, everything, Viking stuff, Twins, beautiful down there. In self-defense, how many fifth graders could you fend off at one time?
Oh, as many as I needed to. In self-defense? Bring them on.
You and Paul Allen, because we had Paul Allen on yesterday. He's like, I could take on the whole school.
Yeah, no, me too. Put me and PA on a team and we could take
There we go. Perfect. Would you rather wear a shirt that's kind of itchy all the time or wear a pair of shoes with a small pebble in it?
Oh, shoes with a small pebble in it.
It sucks being itchy. We should have added like
I don't even move
thing.
that much anyway, so I could just like sit and it won't even bother me.
Right. No, that's a good. I honestly I don't know what I would do there. I said it last night, but I don't know. We did it. What's more realistic, ghosts or aliens?
Aliens.
Cool. Okay. Now might be obvious. You have one sport to watch the rest of your life. What is it?
Golf.
Golf.
No, just kidding. Hockey.
Golf. Whoa.
No offense to golf. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Hey, golf's a great. Hey, I like watching golf more than other people. It's fun.
It's not terrible for sure.
No,
I couldn't live without hockey.
Yeah. Hockey's awesome. Well, Alexis, thank you so much for coming on. Make sure everybody to check out Bardown Beauties podcast. We'll definitely love to have you on some other point on some of our other podcasts. I know when we start up like our Wild Takes podcast, we'd love to have you on as a guest because you know your stuff and we love talking to you.
I try to.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, guys, again, check out Bardown Beauties podcast and make sure to donate at 10,000takesmn.com/Sota-stream. Thanks again, Alexis, for coming on.
Thank you, Alexis.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yep, bye.